think we should just go into it.
Yes, sir.
Cool.
Straight back.
Yes.
So, the main theme of the podcast, this episode, is to look back at 2019 at John Hansard Gallery. We have Hazel with us, who is one of our gallery assistants that hasn't been with us as long as others. Kat, when did you join?
I started with the Richter, so I've been here almost the whole time, but not really.
I've been lurking in the wings.
So May 2018.
Okay. Piers, you've been here the whole time.
I feel like I've always been here. Read into that what you will.
You've been in this room this whole time.
Yeah, this whole time. No, because I started work actually with Amy, but Amy worked before me, and it was with Huddlehood when it was outside and it was summer in the square.
So, a couple of veterans.
And I started working for John Hansard for British Art Show 8 in 2016.
OG.
OG here.
Oh, wow. Some bragging rights. But, yeah, so I wanted to look back at 2019 and just basically talk about what we've seen, what we've experienced, what we've liked, what we haven't liked necessarily. But I would also like to tag on to that any of the views that we express are our own, not necessarily reflective of the gallery as an organisation. But yeah, we started off with Siobhan Hapaska with Anya Galaccio and Edward Woodman. Were they all together?
I think they were.
At one point
yeah.
they did all cross over.
And then it was Anya Lewin afterwards. But I think Anya Galaccio was... I still have an actual folder on my phone of the day it started, and then periodically I took a picture each day until it finished. And
That's
now
really
I have...
nice.
Well, no one's seen it.
No
one's seen
They
it.
still won't, because this is a podcast.
And they never will. I'll just describe it to you all. But it was quite, it was quite fun.
That was the indigo, wasn't it, right?
Mhm.
The windows,
Yeah.
I wasn't working at this point.
It smelled incredible.
Yeah.
The dye smells amazing.
Well, the blue stains are still on the floor.
Yes, still in the AV
in the AV
cupboard.
cupboard.
And even if you look in
That's what that is.
the
Mhm.
Radiators, there's little splats in the
What,
radiators on
in
the
the
window,
actual gallery
yeah.
space? Wow.
Well, we can't get in there to clean it. So.
Look at this. Just imagine, those that are listening, that I'm scrolling through my phone and there's a real progression in colour.
The curtain's getting more and more blue.
So yeah,
Beautiful.
I'm glad I've shown that to someone finally.
It was also nice on the I don't know what to call it, the boat, the bit that all the ink landed on to save it from said floor.
And there was
All the
Yes.
splats and
Like
and
the...
little
what
puddly
do you call
bits
that?
and
Trough.
trough, the gravy
Drip
boat
tray.
of indigo.
That it all
was a
leaked
trough.
out of.
But on that paper though, there was some really beautiful kind of.
Lee has kept some of those.
That's
and
true.
He's probably going to put them up in the workshop.
Because they were like concentrated deposits where like pigment
Yeah.
sort of gravitated towards.
Well, yeah, there
And
was
you got
that.
these really dark, but it was brilliant.
And it crystallised in
They were
some
solids, yeah.
places, like we know those grow your own gem things. It was a bit like that.
We grew our own indigo, if that's a thing. But yeah, I was going to ask, other than Galaccio that I think that we all liked, does anyone have any favourites from 2019? I know, Hazel, you weren't here for the whole,
Not working for the
Yeah.
whole thing.
but
I mean,
even those that you have seen, it would be worth talking
my
about.
absolute favourite was probably Stair Slide Space because I got free lunch every time I was in, but that's a little bit selfish of a reason.
I'm just thinking about my belly.
I do always think about my belly.
What was the show while Stair Slide Space was in Gallery 3?
Andy
Schmid
Andy
in
Schmid
Gallery
was in there.
2, and then we had, so Love Kept Us Warm, Stair Slide Space.
who was in Barker Mill?
That was a film programme, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Yes, there was a
That's
series
the
of
one
different
with the load
films.
of like printmaking stuff, or is that one before
That's
that?
one.
That was
that was
Oh,
the
no,
one that
the
was
one
before
before.
one
that.
before.
That was Resist.
I asked because I remember thinking that Stair Slide Space, their piece, was really lovely and an open thing to go into when you've spent your time. The rest of the gallery was filled with quite depressing and confrontational work, which I found very sad. So when I finally went through and went, oh, there are people here and it's all colourful and there are blankets and it's home but in a different context, I found that really exciting and refreshing.
That's what they were trying to get, that sort of homely feel, weren't they?
Yeah.
And I think they did.
Definitely.
especially with the big window out into the square.
It's my favourite part of the gallery. I think just being in front of that window, no matter what's in there.
Mm.
It's just always really nice, day or night.
Which is why at the moment it's really weird because they've blocked it all off.
It's,
Yeah,
yeah,
that makes it really
it's awesome.
exciting. Because when I went in there for the first time, I was like, well, I didn't see this coming. I was like, I always thought they were going to use that window. Oh no,
They're going to constantly use it.
I've been
That's the
shocked.
selling
I've
point.
been proven wrong.
Piers, what was your favourite?
I'm just thinking. I think I don't know if I could call it my favourite, but torn between two things that seem quite interesting. One, which is Sean Lynch's film of the bard being possessed, and that's only because when I'm in Southampton, Sean actually used locations around Southampton to shoot this film, and it's weird to be somewhere and look at the Ibis Hotel and think, oh yeah, there was that, or walk through the Toys R Us car park and think, oh yeah, this was where she took off his sort of bard outfit and stuff like that. And then also thinking about, I've never been in is it the geothermal plant?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And looking what that's like. I quite like the idea of, I don't know, like a journey, and I was able to, I don't know, accompany them. There was something very immersive about it. And the other one I really liked was Haroon's skip loop. That is what it's called, isn't it?
Mhm.
Yeah. That was
Yeah.
on the digital array, and it was 6 seconds of, what was it? A digital representation of the sea. It was sort of undulating, and there was foam, and then it skipped, and then you see the foam again. But that was really good, and I agree with some of the people that like come in and said, "Oh, I could have this in my house for hours and hours." And I think there was something about that was quite nice, because not only was it quite conceptual and had sort of thought attached to it, in a way, it could have been separate from the entire show and sit on its own and be something not even considered art gallery material, but something more worth considering or pondering or, I don't know, reflecting on, perhaps.
Well, because the work is 6 seconds, because that's the average time people spent looking at paintings in the National...
It was a Louvre, I think.
Is it the Louvre?
Yeah.
Yeah, and then it was weird seeing people come in and just briefly glance at the work, and then the only ones that were like, oh, well that's cool, and then they'd actually spend longer because they were more aware of the fact that it is 6 seconds for a certain reason.
I think that's a great point to make, because, yeah, there were people that would sit there for like half an hour. And they're like, you think it's the same 6 seconds again and again and again. Yeah, so it is weird how suddenly, yeah, that changes things. So that was great, and it's positioned in a great space, and it's. I wonder if the work would change if there was no seating arranged.
Would people stand there and just watch it for
So that it
long
was
as well,
more
do
like
you think?
the paintings?
Absolutely.
Yeah, I wonder, because if you would stand, maybe you would walk off. But I think to offer something like, well, like a bench by a beach or something.
Well, I think it's bizarre to offer seating for a piece that is 6 seconds long.
You're
Even
quite
though-
right.
Although it does repeat itself,
Mm.
but yeah,
should
now
just
that you
be-
mention it,
A conveyor belt instead, and you just
Yes.
you stand on it when you get in.
yeah,
and
and
you
just go more 6 seconds.
cool.
Bye.
Oh, yeah, nice.
The water moved, but the sky was static. Is that right? I think
Yes.
that's something
Oh,
that
it must have
was
been.
quite
Yeah.
because I really liked it as well. I found it very soothing, but I was highly aware that it was completely unnatural, and yet it was still.
Do you think it would have been as soothing if it had sound?
6 seconds of that sound that would
Just
link
sloshing
to it.
water. It might be quite jarring though if
Don't
it's
know,
a
yeah.
repeated
If I
sound
was
of
to
water.
put sound on that specific work, it would. I deliberately clip it because the visuals are jarring. So you couldn't have a soft sound repeating over and over. It'd have to be a wave building and then just cutting and going back to the start. So it would be quite a kind of unsatisfying.
But can you imagine
Constant.
us working with that for 3 months?
Almost
quite a
twitching.
Well, I think 2019 was probably. When did we opened in May 2018?
Yeah.
And then since then, I would say 2019 has probably been the hardest year of invigilating the work.
We
Based
also
on the
had-
work that we've had in terms of
We had
its.
Philip Hoare as well, didn't
that was in 2018.
Was it? It bridged the gap though. Made
I
it
don't
into
think it did.
2019.
Did it?
Yeah.
It might have done.
It
Well,
did.
this is the
It
thing.
was on
The
the-
digital array.
It was on the digital array.
Yeah, I keep losing track of
Because
that.
that was the one that had the most irritating, in my perspective.
Do you think?
Yeah.
What about? But then Fantasy Photo Studio, in terms of its,
Oh,
Totally fine.
Oh
Could
my.
zone that out completely.
I think
the
yeah.
baby crying. What was that in?
Was that baby crying?
There was like one of them. I think it was in Barcamel. Just had this like
Oh, yeah,
yes.
crying
yeah.
kid, and I was like, really.
there?
Oh yes,
Yeah.
your ears are not attuned. I see.
I try and avoid baby
We're just
cries.
not very maternal, are we?
It used to, yeah,
It
that
was
used
only
to get
for
me.
2 weeks. Because there was a screening.
Oh, it's
there,
part of
2
the
weeks.
quick
Oh,
film.
And then there was another
yeah.
2 weeks of different films,
Mhm.
and it was part of one of those 2 weeks. So
We've
you
got
might
the
have
dog
missed it.
howling Gallery 3 now there, haven't we?
Yeah.
Which is
Mm.
just as distressing
It's
for me as a baby
very-
crying, if not more so.
That's. I suppose we'll talk about that later.
Well, yeah, we'll get towards that towards the end, I would say, just because
Mm.
that's the newest work that we've got. But yeah, I still think 2019, in terms of its auditory abuse,
It all culminated in Haroon's work.
it did culminate with Haroon. So Haroon Merta was our last exhibition of 2019. It was a solo show, and it consisted of 1, 2, 3, 4 pieces.
4 pieces. Yeah.
5?
5,
Six.
I want to say.
6
Waves on the wall,
Waves on the wall.
echoey
Pavilion.
chamber, pavilion thing.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Thing with water coming out of it at the end.
Aquarius.
Yeah.
Well, I think Gallery 2 was all the same work. So that's just
Upstairs.
Gallery 2 was one work. Gallery 1
3.
was one work.
Oh, okay.
Oh, I think of them as
Bath
Bath Mill
Fine.
was
things.
one work.
Fine.
Although I think Gallery 1, the shower with the bin was made as a work
Mm.
before the chamber was built, but it became one work when it was
Right.
installed together.
So we'll say 5, maybe even 6.
Yeah. I would tell people that it was all one work.
I would. I was
Because
sort of
it's all
referring to it
interlinked and it all made sense to
as
say.
2 halves of the same piece.
Yeah.
Although I think the most frequent question I got was Haroon Pavilion for optimization.
Mm-hmm.
They were just asking whether or not the sound of the water had been modified into the room. I was just amazed at how often I was asked that question.
It was not just the sound of the water, it was also the sound of ants circling.
Which is what I told them,
'Cause
but
that must
they
have
were
been-
still saying, it doesn't sound like water though, it sounds different.
Because I took everyone to the whoops, sorry guys.
Yeah.
I took everyone to the microphone and clapped and said, look, if you clap, you can hear it, but I don't know.
You
So
could.
there must have been digital
Like
the
addition.
ants.
Because I had to check it when the microphone got wet, and I was speaking into the microphone. I had taken it off of the thing, and I was speaking into it, going, "Hi Ben, hi Ben, hi Ben. How are you? Can you hear this?" And I didn't realise there were actually visitors in the space as we were testing it. And Ben went in and went, "Can hear you? There's visitors in
Where
there."
was the microphone? Because that flat square behind us.
The microphone in
Or
the bin?
No, sorry.
The speaker.
The speaker
That was the speaker.
in
the
Gallery
flat
1. Like,
screen.
what
like a
the-
flat panel
What is that?
speaker.
Still have no idea how it works.
That's a
There
flat
was one
piece
in
of
Gallery
yeah.
3
But
as
they
well,
had a
wasn't there, on the end
yeah.
of the solar panels?
Yeah, similar, but the one that one was just hung, and Haroon just brought it with him on the train, and we had to make packaging for it, and it is just like a piece of like 2 pieces of mount board with something in the middle.
Yeah,
It's
'cause it
all we
looked
could
like
figure
mount
when we took it down to have a look at it. It was just very interesting. Don't know how that works. Cool technology.
Yeah, that doesn't make any sense.
But that was what was producing the sound, and it's directional, so it bounced off.
What was weird, because when you're in the room, it sounded like the sound was coming from the other end.
Yeah, because of the way the
And then you go to the other end, and it sounds like it's going from the other end.
Mm.
It got to the point where I was in there with another person. I was like, I don't know where it's coming from. It sounds like it's from your end. But it sounds like it's from your
not
end,
me.
actually. I'm sorry.
Well, that's why it was designed, because there's no 90 degrees corners in there.
Yeah.
It's all wonky corners, all odd angles, and it would bounce off for 6 seconds.
Oh, is that
Was it exactly 6
6
seconds
seconds.
for the echo to decay?
really?
Depends on how many people were in the room, so that's why we couldn't
Mm.
let over a certain amount in, because obviously human bodies soak up the sound, so
Oh, I see.
it's better to go in on your own.
I did have a fun time going in there at the at the Christmas party. There was, I just like my favourite part of the whole piece was that you could just go in and make loads of noises and it would echo
We had
obviously a lot.
We had that singing bowl, didn't we?
Yeah, but when you went in there and purposefully screamed as loud as you could,
It hurt my ears.
it was quite scary, to be honest, because you almost feel it go down the room. I felt sorry for Ben. I was in there with our duty manager. And I was at one end screaming as high as I could. And it was just wonderful.
But Kat, you played. What instrument did you play?
I took my violin in.
Yeah.
You both Piers and Luke, you both had a go on the violin in there.
Oh yeah, that's true.
Very briefly.
I didn't.
Yes, you did.
Did I?
Yeah, I gave it to you, and then you were scared to play it. You said, "I don't want to break it," and I went,
Yeah.
"Give it some Welly."
And that's exactly what I was about to say. I was like, I would have done that 'cause I would have broken it.
I
Yeah.
pretty much kind of shouted at you and made you kind of go blonk.
Oh, maybe, okay.
And then you
that
went,
sounds-
"Oh," okay,
Yeah.
and then you gave it back.
That's me.
Oh, I'm sad I missed that.
I did film it. It was really, really beautiful to use it in that way.
Well, we had pandemonium in there too.
Speaking of pandemonium, because we had a few people do performances in there.
Oh, the
Didn't we?
dancers as well.
So we had the dancers.
Not planned by the gallery.
No, not planned.
Just visitors who would come to the gallery and used it.
Really?
Yeah, I had one man. So in Gallery 2, I was dancing because of the rave sounds that
Of
it
course.
made, and we just start dancing because
Yeah.
it's fun. And what else are you going to do when you're invigilating a space and there's no one in? And a visitor
going
came
mad.
in, and going mad because it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Visitor came in and he saw me and he went, "Oh," and I was like, "Oh no, you caught me," haha. And he went, "No, I'm joining in." He goes into the centre of the circle. He starts dancing, giving it all that, and then after a little while, when it starts getting a bit more shamanistic, he started doing yoga in the middle as
Oh.
well. And then he came downstairs and he said that was amazing for him.
Really?
Sounds like someone I would know.
Yeah.
I would not be surprised.
I don't know if it was someone you
As many stories as I hear about them, like people enjoying Haroon stuff, and there were a lot. Like there was so many visitors that when I would show them in, especially to Gallery 2 and Gallery 1, to be fair, when they realised it was a dark space, they would just go, "Nope, I don't want to go in there. Don't ask me to go in there. I'm scared." And there was a few people that said, "I'm scared of the dark,"
Understandable.
which was really it kind of surprised me, I guess. But
Oh, the amount of people I actually scared going into the.
You coming out
Yeah.
of it scared me
Yeah,
at one
yeah.
point.
Oh, yeah. I'd be like, "Oh, hello there."
With the chamber.
The
as well.
chamber, yeah, anechoic chamber.
But on the same kind of subject, I loved sending people in. I'd kind of dangle the idea of allowing them to use a torch, but I'd kind of try and make them go in without it. Because that's where the magic is. Just walking into something that's completely black and then going, "Oh, the magic that's in there." Plus, it's really fun to see how slow people walk when they don't know where they're going.
Yeah.
It's just like slowly disappearing into the ether, and I was like,
They're all clutching the wall.
yeah.
I would always tell them just one more step after it's pitch black, and you'll see light.
Well, yeah, all you have to do
All
is
be
look
revealed.
down. Well, all you had to do is look down the corridor, if you want to call it. It's quite short, and then you would see light coming through.
Walking out was more difficult. I quite often would turn and then hit my face into the sponge wall and then take a step slightly to the left and be like, "There's the corridor." Yeah.
The one piece we haven't mentioned of Haroon, Dream Machine.
Dream Machine.
Lukey's favourite.
Without a doubt, my favourite piece of 2019.
That's a big statement.
It's a huge statement.
Wow. It's quite
And
quite
I
a
will
few
back
people's
that.
favourites, actually.
Back that till I die. Just, it was, I don't know, there was something about it. It's because I've never seen anything like it before. And I don't think I will, ever.
It was
Unless I see it
totally
again.
mad. When we were taking it down, Ash said he wanted to take it on tour. that Haroon should take it on tour.
Take it to festivals.
And festivals. And
Literally, take it to festivals. Everyone
make
will
a
be
killing.
drugged out of their mind, and they will love it.
Well, some public members did have the same mentality as
Yes,
that
yes.
to come in and think, "Oh yeah,
There were a
Well,
few.
I'll come
that
back.
had
I'll come
obviously,
back.
I'll come back.
Yeah.
after taking something.
What's taking a
There
substance?
was
Yeah.
there was like this group of guys that kept coming in and
Yeah.
going straight to it. And one time, one of them went, "Oh, where's the dream machine?" And I don't like it when people are kind of falsely. And I just went, "You know exactly where it is. Now go up there."
For
And they
those
looked
of
really
the-
sheepish.
For those of you that are listening that don't know what Dream Machine is, it was a hemisphere in our Barker Mill gallery, stood on its own. How, about 1.5 meters in diameter, maybe?
Yeah.
About 1.5 meters
The whole
in
thing
diameter.
was like probably 3 meters tall.
Okay.
The whole structure. So yeah, the dome was probably about
Yeah, and it
about
was
metre
a
and half.
hemisphere that you could reach into, but at the same time, on the rim of the circle that you were looking at immediately, were a strip of LEDs that were flashing in synchronization with these speakers that were making some sort of hypnotic noise.
The sound was the sound of the electricity coming from the LEDs.
Was it?
Yeah, it was all fed in.
Oh my
With
god!
all of Haroon's work,
Mm.
he really loves feeding the lights straight through the speakers and then out again, like putting it all through a big loop.
Well, the work's just got even better.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
great.
Yeah,
That's
so the
amazing.
sound you heard was always actually in tune with the light because it was the same signal.
Yeah.
It was the signal of that light.
Oh my! Should I play a bit of sound for those that are listening?
Yeah, go on.
it.
I wanted to see if it picks it up.
So I made an
Imagine-
effort to record the entire 15-minute sequence on my phone,
Did you? Wow.
so that I have constant record of what it sounded like.
When Haroon hears this and gets Luke done for copyright.
Sorry for personal use.
This is it. Yeah, don't look at the screen. I won't play too much, but it's like a charging up sound mixed with the most stroby, crazy, flashy, colourful lights I'm ever going to see.
Mm-hmm.
And it produced quite hypnotic, weird kaleidoscope effects when you looked into the hemisphere. And the closer you came to it and put your head into the hemisphere, your entire field of view was just engulfed with... it's hard to describe, like honeycomb, swirling...
Quite a few people ended up not knowing, losing the sense of what was up and down and left and right.
I would agree.
Until they just stepped back and then it came back immediately. But it was when you're in
I
there.
think after spending as much time as I did in there, because I think I made a point of staying in there for as long as possible, just so because I know it's going to be there for a finite amount of time. So
I
I
never
wanna see it
went
before
in
it
there for
goes.
the full thing.
there is one section in the whole piece for me. Obviously, everyone sees it differently, I think, but there was a bit where you're looking at it and then it sort of looks like it's coming out at you. And that there was only one occasion where I actually felt a little bit sick because I was like, I don't know what to do. It's coming out the wall. And then you have to look away, and then after that it's okay. But it's without a doubt my favourite piece of 2019. I don't think there's nothing that I've seen or will see for a while. I don't think that will match the effect that it had for me, at least. And it's not even because of some like profound reason. It literally was just that it's cool.
Yeah.
I'm not going to be around the
Totally
bush.
valid.
Yeah, it was
way
just
to
so
experience
cool
art.
to see.
I think many other people felt that because they'd never seen anything like it.
There was quite a few people that came in that were sort of in their 50s, maybe 60s, and when they came out as, "Are you okay?" Just checking they're okay, they're not going to collapse on me or something, and they all went, "God, I haven't seen anything that good since the 60s."
Yeah.
I'll be back.
Speaking of older people, I was in there and we had beanbags on the floor and there was a bench at the back to sort of support anyone that felt the need to sit down. But it sort of, at the same time, encouraged people to sit down immediately when they walked in. Would you agree?
Yeah, I did.
And I went in there and then there was a group of people on the beanbags and there was a group of people on the benches. And I just said to the guy and woman next to me, I was just like, it's actually way better if you put your head in. And they were like, what? And then I walked over, put my head in, and there was an elderly gentleman at the back, and I came back away from it to sort of let everyone else go in, and then he came over, and after I'd mentioned that you can go and put your head in, he came back to me and he went, "Do you know what? I thought you were mental when you went. I didn't know what you were doing, And then as soon as you said you should put your head in it was amazing. You really got a trick there. And I was like, yeah, it was good. And then I just watched about 5 people just standing dead still, looking into the Dream Machine. And it was hilarious.
I think it's funny because being with the work for so long, people come out of like Dream Machine and you say, "Oh, did you enjoy it? Yeah. Did you stick your head in it? No.
What?
And then they go back in. And there's so many things that people don't know about stuff, which I think what we can do is say, did you try this thing, or did you see that, or did you... it's a bit like with the anechoic chamber. Some people never moved to the left or right, so was unable to see the helix that was actually, being shown.
There were some people that were sat in that as well, the Dream Machine. When I was down in the reception looking at the CCTV at one point, I just happened to glance at it.
What, you sat in it?
Yeah, they were literally like this.
Yeah.
Like spread eagled, like they were kind of leaning like right in.
Yeah.
And their heads all the way back.
Really?
Like, just like they were sat in it. Like in the semicircle, and it was like, whoa,
Not that we condone.
No,
absolutely not.
We were allowed to lean into it, you're not allowed to touch it.
Yeah.
Definitely not allowed to sit in it.
I thought they must be really enjoying themselves. They haven't moved for a while.
Wow.
Well, I think, just seeing trippy work, I think, is enjoyable for most people. That's what I've seen from people at the Tate, at least. With, I don't know what show it is, but there's like a fog room and some weird
Oliatha
silhouettes.
Ellison's, which is really fun and not dissimilar with the tunnel, because it has the same sort of fluorescent lighting, and the tunnel. You can't, if you put your hand in front of your face, you can't see it for the kind of dry ice that's going on, but the tunnel changes colour slowly in a similar tones to Dream Machine, and again. Similarities I went through, and I lost all sense of up and down. I started walking kind of, I don't know, I was like a banana going along the corridor, just bent to one side going, I was with my friend and I was like, Olivia, I don't know what's happening, just sort of like turning around. So yeah, definitely.
I'm trying to think of pieces specifically that I struggled with. I think for me, Resist, Be More That Again was difficult.
Yes.
But that's only because I think now that we've been here for as long as we have, we've experienced viewers coming in and they immediately want to be gratified with a specific response, or they want to be like, oh yeah, that's cool, like Dream Machine, that's probably, I'm being a bit of a hypocrite, that's why I liked it so much, is that it was just cool straight away. But people want to come in and they expect to be wowed immediately without having to do much work for it, and I think that's a broad brush to
paint with.
But I think it's true, and we've been here for well over a year and a half now, and we've all seen people just come in and walk out again because they don't necessarily understand exactly what it is. But for me, Resist, Be Modern was an interesting show, but there was a certain hurdle that's, I think, the general public, a majority of the general public would have had to jump over to understand it fully.
It was very academic, and you would have to sit and read all of the essays that were placed around the room to really get to grips with it. You could appreciate some things aesthetic. Personally, I found it aesthetically quite drab, which sounds really harsh, but it should have. For me, I've always felt that show should have been a lot more engaging and able to tell the stories of the fascinating women from that era who were making the work, and who were just as famous and just as important as the men of that time, who were making all of this amazing advancements in their crafts and their artworks and all that sort of thing. But through the last century, their work got pushed back to the side, and they were just not they were not talked about as much anymore. Yeah. And I really wanted people to really be able to engage with that, but I found that not many visitors did, unless they were already engaged with the academics. And I think there is a place for like really academic work in galleries, because it can't all just be like Instagram worthy all the time.
I agree.
But
I agree.
Yeah.
I think one of the main things that I had a problem with is that it was too broad. If you're going to write a dissertation, you need to be so incredibly specific and have a very definite, it's about this person who did this, and I'm going to explore that completely. Whereas Resist Be Modern was all these women, all these people, and even the brainstorm. Are we allowed to say brainstorm these days?
Yes.
Brainstorm on the wall downstairs. You had to study that for, I don't know, look at that for an hour before you remembered everyone, and then go around the gallery and kind of think, oh, that connects. It's not to disregard all the amazing women that were included, but if they did focus on one or fewer, or less, I should say, I don't know which one's the right word, then I think it would have been a slightly stronger and less daunting.
Yeah, I'd say it was more daunting for a lot of people.
But yeah, I thought it was quite dry.
Well, I think sometimes that daunting feeling for people that are coming in to see the work, that passes to us as well, because we're the ones that are there with the work as long as we are. Mm-hmm. So people that are coming in expect us to sort of be whizzes about
we are the ones
everything.
that are helping people through it, and to helping them through it sounds a bit.
I'm gonna hold your hand.
Don't you worry, guys. I've got this. Yeah, it's because
that makes sense.
at the same time we have to understand the work enough to be able to confidently speak to people about it.
We would actually, a few of us would grab the pink booklet that came with it, and we would read about it to each other every day, so that we would understand it ourselves, so that we could pass on the information to people, and therefore they can make up their own minds. There were quite a few people that did come in. They were going, "This is amazing!"
Oh, a lot of people
really
loved it.
fascinated by it and really loved it. It was one of those shows that was a bit Marmitey, I guess.
But I think that's maybe just the nature
A lot of shows.
Contemporary art, isn't it, really? A lot of the
Definitely.
stuff that comes in, some of us like it, some of us don't like it. Even just
Definitely.
talking
We all disagree
on
with each
rotation,
other.
it's like, oh yeah, what do you like?
Yeah.
Oh, I like this.
I remember Dave really disliking Aquarius from Haroon's show, and Nikki really loving it.
Yeah.
Absolute, just completely
But this is the thing,
opposite.
like I say, we're with the work longer than anyone that comes in here, and I don't think people necessarily think about that when they come in. They're like, oh, do you like the work?
Well, don't know yet.
I've been listening to it for 2 months.
I was sat there with orange headphones on to block out the sound.
Poor Benji's just sat there staring out into the abyss, listening to that woman in
Benji.
Haroon's work just screaming.
Everything was on YouTube as well, wasn't it? So you could actually...
What were the videos from YouTube?
Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah, a lot of
most
Pretty
of
much
them.
all of it was on YouTube.
Really?
It's
Yeah.
including the women that did the singing. So
Oh.
I was trying to rickroll people with that on occasion.
Yeah, so for those of you that don't know, in one of Haroon's pieces, there was a series of videos, and in one particular part of that video, there was a woman, some shaman woman, maybe?
Temple of the something of light. wasn't
Temple
it?
of
the Way of Light.
Temple of the Way of Light.
Peru?
Yeah, it was
Yeah.
some sort of retreat that I
They
think
have
you
a
can pay
YouTube
to go
channel.
on.
Yeah,
And she was doing
Go to YouTube.
some shamanistic
you can pay
singing.
something like £2,000 a day.
Yeah,
to
we
get
looked it
her
up.
to-
Me and Dave looked it up.
Yeah,
and it was
yeah.
like $3,000 to go on
Yeah.
a 14-day
Money
retreat
well
to that
spent.
specific place. It's crazy.
Yeah.
We got it for free. We got paid. We got paid hourly to listen to that.
Yeah, I know.
I still hear it in my sleep.
Yeah, I my brain switches off sometimes when I'm at home, and then I realise I've nearly finished making my tea, and my brain clicks in, and I'm singing it,
Oh no!
and I'm going. Oh God!
What have I done?
I'm broken.
Hot tea and first.
Yeah.
But I think, looking at 2019, I'm trying to think. It was a perfect balance. I think there's nothing
It was definitely a good balance of different shows.
because we all like what we like and we don't like what we don't like. So it's interesting, because I've come from a background of only photography. So since working here, contemporary art has just been basically entirely new to me in the sense that I'm experiencing ways of working, types of work that I've never seen before. So And I think that it's the same as a lot of people that come in. They're like, I don't get it.
Mm.
What's the point?
I've had a lot of people say, "Oh, this is BS." Just straight up,
Yeah.
not going to engage with
Where's
it.
the paintings?
Oh, I
Yes.
hate that. So that's my pet peeve.
Oh, that's me.
That's not always me.
That really annoys me. I think I particularly dislike kind of staunchly closed-mindedness.
Yes.
Where people walk in and they just go, don't like it, bye. And I'm like, whoa. I don't care if you like it or don't like it. Actually, one of my favourite things to do if someone doesn't like it is to ask them why, because they're so
I would
shocked.
absolutely
When
agree.
someone's asked them why. They're like, what do you mean? I just said I didn't like it. Yeah, but why?
I'd say
Oh
the
my
best
God.
conversations had is when somebody, and do you know what? Some people, they're not there to attack it, but they can say, "Oh, I don't like this," and then just ask them why exactly.
Yeah.
And I don't know. I just find that far more fulfilling.
Yeah.
And it's, I don't know. Maybe it makes people think. Makes me think certainly. Because I go, "Oh yeah, I didn't think about that," or so. I think that's difficult because people can say things. And because we work in a contemporary art gallery, we can't always be arbiters or defenders of contemporary art. But you can't have that opinion. You can't not like it. So I think I don't know. As long as there's a conversation, then it seems quite valid.
Yeah.
The thing that seems to throw people off when they say it to me, I said, well, so you're entitled to your opinion. Like, that's the beauty of art. You're allowed to like what you like and don't what you don't. And they kind of go, well.
I wonder if that's a particularly British thing. That if we were to be in somewhere where they're stereotypically more forthright, I don't know, America, Australia, somewhere like that, where they might be a bit more kind of, maybe it might be even more so, just be like, no. But there's something very polite and like conservative with a small c of kind of, I have this opinion and, oh, you're asking me why? I'm going to write you a letter.
But just to be validated in a thought, I think is good if we can do that, because then it's not, oh, you're going to be criticised for feeling or thinking this, and someone's just there to listen. I think that's good if we can do that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think any opinion is valid on the work as
Absolutely.
long as you've given it a chance.
Mm-hmm.
Because you can come in and go, no. And I think, you didn't try to engage with it. You don't have to. You can just go, no, not for me,
To
and
be
leave.
fair.
I
Yeah.
suppose that's just as valid.
Because
So
we're not aware
I'll go back on
their
that.
background. They might
Yeah.
be well aware that they don't like sculpture. Do you know what I mean? And they can come and see sculpture and immediately go, oh God.
Isn't it amazing
Sculpture.
people can form such a staunch opinion whilst only looking at something for 6 seconds?
Yeah.
Well, yeah, this is it. Haroon, he put the nail on the head. I don't know what it's called, but yeah, you made a good point. But there are a lot of people that come in and they're aware that it's not their thing, but they come in anyway. And I like having conversations with those people because at least then,
Definitely.
I don't know, they usually come up with something interesting and we'll have a little laugh.
Yeah, and they're related to something that you might not have thought about as well. If you're already immersed in contemporary arts, you might not have connected it to something in, I want to say, the real world.
Let's call it the real world.
Yeah. They might connect it to something in, or at least their world that isn't necessarily in our world, where we are immersed in contemporary arts and the arts all the time. So we are very biased as people that we're all artists, we're all makers, we're all. I mean, Kat's sitting here knitting.
No, I'm not.
So
Yes, she is. I want to declare that she is.
So we are all very biased that we're all makers and creators. So we automatically have have that respect for any kind of creation that people who aren't creators or makers or even immersed in it have. So it's nice to get people who aren't in and see what they think and see what experiences they have. And sometimes people absolutely love it. They're like, this is amazing. I would never have come in here before,
Yeah.
but my friend dragged me in, or that sort of thing.
Well, I think that leads really well onto community takeover.
Yay!
Oh, I loved that.
Yay!
My
was
second
the
favourite
best.
part of 2019.
Yeah.
Just because, so community takeover's aim was, it was put together by our engagement team here at the gallery. So Lynn, Vanessa, Diana, Elspeth. And the intention was to bring multiple communities within Southampton into the gallery space in Gallery 1 downstairs and explore a specific part of their, be it culture, their hobby, if you like. So we had Skate Southampton come in, they were doing skateboarding in the gallery. We had
Art Asia.
With the, is it the Mela?
Yeah, making decorations for the Mela Festival.
Yeah, so they were using wax and things like that. We had Batik, that was it. We had
gallery sessions.
Thanks to our very own Pat Tarrant. Nice plug. And I think, Community Takeover was the most interesting thing we've had in the gallery, apart from Dream Machine. Just because it brought so many different people in that I think maybe people that are a bit cautious of coming in. I don't know what that barrier is, but a lot of people that did come in, it was for the first time and specifically for Community
the Sustainable
Takeover.
Fashion Festival as well.
Oh yeah, that was
Yeah.
brilliant.
Am I wrong
really
in
nice
thinking,
day.
or it's not called Colourful Walkway anymore, it's called
Street Art.
Street Art. Was that Community Takeover as well?
Yes,
That
that was
was-
the
Yeah.
competition run
It was,
during.
yeah.
Because that was also fantastic. Cause
Yeah, the results.
honestly, the kids' drawings were really phenomenal.
There's going to be
seriously.
another one's happening for the next Community Takeover. So
I'm going to join that one, but
it's-
they won't know. Like, I'm
it's,
25.
Yeah, I'll make you.
It's not
I'll
going to
still
be.
lose.
Dude, honestly, I was going through some of the entries and there was I think she was 9 years old. It was a 9-year-old girl. I've never seen a drawing like it. It was crazy. Considering, comparing it to other 8-year-olds, 7-year-olds, she had depth.
Yeah.
She had, perspective in her image.
Yeah.
She had full-on shading.
I
And
was talking to
like,
Val,
this can't be an
and
8-year-old.
this abstract composition that this young person had made was just like, it was just amazing, and just even what's out there at the moment. So the one with the boats, that being repeated, and how simple the shapes are, and the colours. It's a really, really good thing to do. It's just a shame there's no 25-year-old plus competition that we can enter.
But there's going to be. So what's happening now is working with. I'm going to say his surname as correctly as possible, but Lariakampong. It's a silent. It's a silent. I always do like a Italians when they do a C and an H together makes a K. Don't know why. Anyway. Having the flag on the outside of the gallery at the moment. So inspired by that, kids are designing their own flag that represents their favourite place or community, or I don't know, some of them did things like they really liked going to the park, or they liked the seaside, so they made the beach. So that's what's kind of happening next, and there'll be a selection of them. It's going out to schools again, like with the street art. So more amazing. It's going to be even more abstract. It's basically all they're allowed to do is pick a selection of things, create symbols out of paper and arrange them. So it's not it's not supposed to really include drawing, though I did allow some of them to draw at the other weekend because they really wanted to draw. And who am I to tell them otherwise? I'm not going to tell a 5-year-old that they can't do a drawing.
Yeah.
That sounds so great.
But yeah, so there's more, which is going to be lovely.
Because Community Takeover is coming back
In March.
in March again.
Yes.
And it was the most fun, I think, because we had something different every week as well, which was great for us as gallery assistants, because you do get a bit tired of the same thing for 3 months, whether it's good or whether it's bad. It does get a bit monotonous.
It gets dry.
Yeah.
There's that kind of notion of contemporary art galleries being that kind of white cube, hollow-halled space where everyone has to be silent when they walk around and everything's very revered. And it really is as in everyone that works at the gallery and the gallery itself, it's our duty to reach out and bring people in and to support what Southampton has going on, because there's lots going on, and it all connects into what the whole city is as a glorious
Did
thing.
Visits Be Modern come after or before Community? Because on the notes here it's come after, but is it?
I think it was on at the same time, because Community Takeover was in Gallery 1.
Yeah,
Yes.
Anya Lewin crossed over with Community Takeover, and then Resist Be Modern
went upstairs.
Went upstairs when Community
Anya
Takeover
had
was
finished.
down and Anya had finished.
Okay.
Yeah, it was. They were on all. Yeah, so Community Takeover was the bridge between Anya, Lewin, and Resist Be Modern.
Did you see
I
Community
think.
Takeover,
I
Hazel?
did. I wasn't working here, but I did. But it's just kind of stuck in my mind how downstairs you'd have all this sort of different groups coming in, sort of making it as accessible as possible in what is essentially a white cube space. And then you've got Resist Be Modern, which, from my memory, was almost completely academic and kind of, I don't know, highbrow, I guess is the word I'd use, but like, sort of that massive contrast in the same gallery.
Perhaps that's why Resist Be Modern felt so. I can't think of the right word.
Alienating?
Yeah, it felt so alienating compared to the Community Takeover
was so
downstairs, which was
That's a really good point.
yeah, definitely.
I just wonder whether that was going to be like a thing that happens again, or whether like Resist Be Modern being on at the same time was just a complete fluke, or whether it was just the planning, or is it
That's a really good point.
I'm not sure what's
because
on at the same time as Community Takeover this time.
I've not seen.
Mariner.
Yeah, I think I haven't got the gallery guide on me.
I think it's Mariner next, which is a group show. I don't know anything other than it's called Mariner. It's a group show, so I can't give you any more info on that one right now.
And for those that are repeatedly phoning in to the gallery, Seaside, the photography show, will be coming. It's coming at the end of the year. It was meant to be coming, I think, in the first quarter of this year, but due to rescheduling, I think, or something like that, it's now moved to the end of the year. But it is coming.
Is it special? Why are people phoning?
I don't know. It's a
I
some
feel
sort
like
of-
I got phone calls in like 2017 about
Yeah,
Cisco.
honestly,
Seriously.
honestly, it seems to be huge. People are really.
Is
it's
that the one that's currently on another gallery and people
it's
are
on
like,
somewhere else.
yeah, because I've had those phone calls as well.
It's crazy. I'm amazed that so many
I've not
people.
had any of these
Have you
phone
not?
calls.
Oh, it better be good.
It's because we're getting them all.
Yeah, that's why.
Well, hopefully that means it will be quite like a buzzing
Yeah.
show. It's not this year, but things that were really, really popular at the start with Richter, there was a lot of people kind of buzzing through.
I honestly think people were asking about the Seaside thing when Richter was here. I'm not joking.
I had someone phone up
Incredible.
about 2 months ago saying, can I come and still see the Gerhard Richter?
Yeah.
As well?
Wow,
No.
we have a
No.
website.
Yeah.
Some people aren't
It's gone.
online, are they?
Oh yeah, I guess that's why they were phoning, weren't they?
Check also, check the website, because it's actually a very good place to find out information. It's underutilised, and I say we don't tell enough people about it because it's actually quite good, and it's got a great design.
It's recently been redone, hasn't
It
it?
has
Well,
recently.
it's going to be.
Well, it's nearly there.
We've got
Nearly
the splash page. Well, at least it was for Haroon, was new,
Mm.
and then the new website is coming in maybe a month.
Maybe when Seaside comes.
Come on down and Seaside here, and you might see the new website.
I've never heard of this one.
Have you not?
Obviously not answered the phone, Amy.
Well, do you know what? Maybe they don't call on Fridays.
No, maybe, yeah.
That's what I meant.
Yeah, Seaside. I just can't stop thinking about it, to be honest. I'm worried about when it comes. I don't even know when it is.
There'll be queues.
yeah, you'll know.
It'll be like the Boxing Day sales out there, all queuing up to come into the gallery.
So, does anyone have any other comments about 2019 before we move on to what is currently here?
My favourite was Edward Woodman, and I didn't like Anya Lewin's work.
Fine.
There you go. They're my two.
That's Kat's
Bam, bam.
likes and dislikes. Amy, what are you saying?
I liked Anya Lewin.
Okay, you can.
I thought that it was a shame that a lot of people didn't seem to, because they were really, really. If you wanted to sit and watch those films, they were really lovely.
The
Yeah.
the
In my perspective,
the silent film I think was great.
the silent one.
The silent-
People really took
Yes.
to that. I thought that was very endearing.
Yes, and the Fez one.
Yeah, Fez was
That
good.
room smelt good. I like the smell of the room.
What, Barker
There
Mill?
were
Yeah, it had
there
like
were
a
lots
tone
of
to it.
perfume, old perfume bottles in the cabinets, and then when we took them out, we just tipped them all out, and they were full of dirty water. It was
Lovely. I
It's
love
really
the smell
gross.
of dirty water.
Some of them still had perfume in because they were like sealed in and not.
But what was your favourite?
My favourite, it was absolutely love Kept Us Warm Stair Slide Space
Okay.
because I got lunch, but more than that,
It's just the food.
it's just the food.
That was just the doom factor.
I got lunch and it was really lovely, but it was really lovely to be able to talk to the artists.
Yeah, the artists were there.
Because they were there Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and you'd talk to them, and you'd also do workshops with them, movement workshops and reading ones, and some writing ones as well. You wrote something, didn't you?
I wrote something.
yeah.
Luke's writing now. This is
It
classic.
was brilliant.
So I fell off my skateboard and hit my face on the floor outside in Guildhall Square, rather majestically, I think. And I decided to write a letter to the concrete.
It's fabulous.
And apparently it went down quite well. There was a lady who read it out or something, apparently. But yeah, Piers, favourite?
Favourites? Can we?
Or anything
Favourite?
you don't like?
Well, Fantasy Photo Studio 2 drove me insane. And to hear, well, Kat knows more about it. What was it like? Particular chords that were playing?
Okay, so
Yeah, that noise.
Okay, Piers and I had discussed this on a couple of occasions, and I tried my best to explain it. So in terms of the music for that piece was composed specially for it, and it had a kind of I'm gonna have to, whatever I do, I'm gonna sound pretentious. It was kind of like an off-pieced Bach composition. There was four-part string quartet kind of harmonies, but they weren't modulating the way that they should have done, and there were a lot of rules that were just not being adhered to, and it really bothered me. And it was a deliberate, obviously quite a deliberate choice for the composition, but it just meant that you never got that satisfying kind of like, thank God, the music's gone where it should have.
Well, it's gone now.
It's gone.
And it's
mate,
used
you've
in
set me off.
Guantanamo Bay, so lucky them. But contrary to that, I really loved the music for the Resist Me Modern work that was on a digital array, which had the two ladies walking around the house and walking around the sculptures.
Oh, that was
I
lovely.
thought that was very beautiful.
Mm-hmm.
So,
I don't remember.
It sounded like Spider-Man.
and it sounded like Danny Elfman. Spider-Man
Did it?
theme,
It
yeah.
did.
Just for,
Danny?
and do you know what ruined it for
Love
me is
Danny
because Luke came to me and said that one day, and I thought, oh yeah, that little at the beginning, and then no Nickelback. So there you go.
Hazel, have you, out of the bits that you saw at least since you worked here,
I'd say Haroon was actually my favourite, apart from the Dream Machine, because just even thinking about that thing gives me a headache. I know, controversial. Least favourite, whilst I was here, was Sean Lynch, I think, but that was because it seemed to cause so many issues whilst I was down there.
Okay, yeah, that's
like
fair.
the bloke that just sort of walked straight in the front doors, went straight into the gallery space, picked up that big stone ball thing in the dome and just chucked it across the room. Left a great big dent on the floor. Left a great big dent in the ball. And
He was a
just
big
walked
bowling
straight out again.
fanatic, but he just didn't really get
He
the
loves bowling, but
transition.
he's
between-
only ever done it on the Wii.
Yeah,
So he's never really
he
bowled
thought
before.
this is
I
my
just kind of
chance.
impressed that he could pick it up and throw it that far. To be
Yeah.
honest, it was the other end of the
Well,
room by the
if
time
you're
we
on a
went
mission,
in
you're on a
there.
mission, aren't you? Well, with that, we'll move into our most current work that we're on. We have... I forgot. We have three?
We
Larry
have
Achampong.
art.
Well, we're going to have three. We have Larry Achampong in Gallery 1, When the Sky Falls, and he's also on our digital array as well, Sunday's Best. And we have in Gallery 2, which opened on the Saturday that's just been, so that was 2 days ago. That is Many Voices, All of Them Loved, and that's a group show. Is it curated by
Sarah Hayden.
Sarah Hayden,
Sarah
Dr. Sarah Hayden.
Yeah.
Shout
And
out.
then
Hey,
we love Sarah.
we do.
Coming up
Yeah.
on the 8th of February, we have Lindsay Sears opening.
And we'll have a big party for all of them.
And we're going to have a big party.
Yeah.
That'll be
It's a
starting
shindig.
as soon as the gallery closes. We'll be reopening on the minute.
We're closed, we're open.
For the preview night. What is Lindsay's show called?
Oh,
Oh.
I can't. It's literally
Yellow wool.
Our
Lovely art.
Yellow Wool, lovely
Yellow
art.
wool.
Hashtag
Wall.
yellow
Every
wool, lovely
thought
art.
there ever was.
Of course,
Oh.
yes.
And I've seen a glimpse of this piece, and it blew my mind.
Yeah.
But we've got robots in the gallery, everyone. Robots.
Yeah.
They're even called robots.
There's
and
a master and a slave
Master and a
robot.
slave robot.
And they
Okay.
are actually from production lines, factory robots.
Yeah.
And Anna, who is Lindsay's technician, she said that not herself but someone else had to go to a big convention to buy these robots.
Really?
And you can go to a convention and they're full of loads and loads and loads of different types of factory robots, and they had to go and
It's very cool.
choose the right one. And when it
I've still not
moves,
seen
it's
this.
really alarming. And
Honestly, it's
Yeah.
I don't even know how to describe it.
Yeah.
It's going to be
I think it's got quite emotional subject matter as
it's
well.
going to be quite
Ah,
turbulent
yeah.
to watch. I got to listen to it for about 20 seconds and I felt uncomfortable.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So
But
one of
it's in a
those.
good way
Okay.
because it's a very provoking piece.
Mm.
But it honestly it's probably one of the second coolest things to Dream Machine because you know that's my baby.
That's your main boy.
That's
That's
my
your baby boy.
Amazing.
In that we've had in the gallery for
Okay.
sure, in my opinion, just because of
Yeah.
the tech that's involved and just
So do you think that's going to affect us working here constantly with it day in, day out, more so than it would a visitor coming in to have a look?
We have to be
and
extra
see?
attentive with that one
We have to be
compared to
attentive.
some of the other shows
Yeah.
where we've kind of been sat outside or we pop in
Uh-huh.
and check. This
Yeah.
one, we have to be like in there
we
watching.
Okay.
It's going to be difficult to
Right.
be in there. I'll be honest. Considering
Yeah,
the
it's,
volume
it's
that
going
it
to be
is.
dark in there.
It's
It's going to be
dark.
quite loud.
Okay.
And please, if you do come, please don't take any photos of Lindsay Sears' work.
Yeah, and please don't jump over the wall that we've built to
Oh, yeah.
prevent people from getting into it. But that's Lindsay
The
Sears. That's coming up.
robots
We
are
haven't actually
mental.
got that in the gallery yet. That is just under a week away. 5 days.
Mm-hmm.
5 days away. Yeah, Saturday. How do we all find Larry's work so far?
I really like it.
Mm.
I can relate to it a little bit. It's
Mm-hmm.
quite nice.
So I'm not laughing at you. Piers and I made a face at each other.
I've got some thoughts about it, and it's funny because you go in there, so it's a installation, and it's very surreal, and suddenly you're transported to this incredibly large, incredibly long, incredibly dark, like office space, and there's office chairs, and there's office plants, and it's dark. But there's loads of Henry Hoovers everywhere. and
40.
stacks.
40 Henry
40
Hoovers.
Henry Hoovers. So the carpets will be clean. And well, yeah, they're deactivated, aren't they?
Yeah,
So
they're
they
not
don't-
they're not
okay,
plugged
so
in.
Have them
It's-
plug in.
It's going to be bad.
If any of them move when you're in there, be alarmed.
But and then there's sort of a stack of bin bags with gold inside. What I really like about the work is, apart from it being really surreal and very atmospheric, is that I imagine the work as a conversation. I think I'm right here, because isn't the film that's on to do with Larry's mum and
Oh, really?
Yes.
I'm not
is
sure.
that right? Because
Yes.
was his mum a cleaner?
Cleaner.
Right, so this
In
is what this
office
is how I
buildings.
imagine it. Is that so? The film is really quite miserable, and it's quite despairing, and I imagine both of them sat together having a conversation about it, and perhaps he made the work because of it, and like you listen to them, and it's obviously very upsetting, but then I can sort of imagine them saying, "Oh, but I worked with so many Henry Hoovers. It was like Attack of the Henry Hoovers," and then you've got that other side to the work, which is quite humorous or quite hopeful. So for me, it's like being inside a conversation but made object or made space. So I really like it. I think it's a really great, and it's quite peaceful, and you can sit in there, and it's a great use of gallery one.
It's not peaceful. It's scary.
It is scary.
Is it scary just because of the Hoovers?
So many
you've made me
components.
like it more
Really?
through your
Interpretation.
I thought that was really nice. But the bin bags are a separate art piece,
Yeah,
and the
because-
Hoovers are separate, and then the film is so it's
even
three
the
things all
interval.
put into, but they're all that's how they've been put together. But I don't like it in there. I feel very uncomfortable and unsafe, and my interpretation of the artwork is thinking about kind of visibility and invisibility, but when I'm in there I feel incredibly visible and very conspicuous. I really dislike it. I think it's a personal problem that I have. I don't like anything that is hints at a form of a person or a living thing,
Anthropomorphic in any way.
but
Okay.
isn't actually a thing. So in this case, the bin bags, as soon as I went in, I just went, no, and walked straight back out, because it's like
Really?
a really foreboding, big, presence of a person
I know
that's
what
going to
you
like
mean, actually.
unfold and kill me. I since then I've forced myself to walk around the entire room to desensitize what's going on, but it doesn't mean that I'm not thinking about that thing unfurling and hunting me down.
That's brilliant.
But
I'm going to hide behind it when you're in there.
my God.
You know what? People sat on those chairs in there, it's so dark and the light's coming from the wrong direction. I sat in there for like half an hour invigilating the other day, and then somebody stood up and I almost
no way.
it.
Oh, really?
Did not realise there was anybody in there at all. And all of a
Someone
sudden
fell
this
asleep in
person
there the
stood
other
up.
day.
Yeah, I had.
I still find it ridiculous that we have to say, "Oh, please don't touch the Henry Hoovers," like as if
Yeah.
they're some incredibly precious item. But
But
We
they're
don't
part
want
of
to
the
be-
artwork.
they are
That
part of
is-
the
is-
artwork.
We
true.
don't want them moved.
People probably going to sit on the Hoovers, no doubt.
Nah.
Do something.
No.
Nobody take that as gospel.
No, don't.
Someone did think that they were stools. Someone came in and I was like, and they went, oh, I thought they were seats.
Don't get me wrong, I would like to sit on Henry Hoover and race it down a hill with a few. I think that would be fun.
Snow day. But both films are incredibly well made and really beautifully.
Sunday's Best is
Beautiful.
lovely.
And they don't outstay their welcome. They're so succinct. Would that be the word? Like,
Yeah,
there's
I
no,
agree.
because some art films, particularly in my opinion, can be very long.
Mhm.
But is Larry's film 15 minutes?
The expulsion in Gallery 1 is 15.
See, ridiculous. It does not feel like that at all. Like, normally you think, oh, that's a long film. It's not. And I think it's a testament to the work is that it is incredibly engaging and engrossing. So,
The music's very good. Sorry to
Music,
take it back to the
excellent.
music, but
Which
that's what I'm about.
he composed that himself.
Yeah.
He did compose it himself, and it is in Gallery 1. I've got wool in my mouth from knitting. Hang on, got it. It's I had a realization the other day. There was something quite army-esque about it in the rhythm section of the composition, and then compared to connected to all these Henry Hoovers that are stood behind you. There's an army,
It's quite
you know, like militant, or like the army of people cleaning across London every morning, and all those connections. And I suddenly was like, whoa.
Yeah.
It's really good. Come and listen to it as well as use your eyes.
Yeah, come and see yourself. We won't talk about it too much because then it will spoil it for you. But the newest piece, Many Voices, all of them loved. I've only been with it a day because it's only literally been on for a day in terms of our opening hours. Am I the only one here? You were working on
We've
Saturday.
seen it, yeah.
I've
I was working Saturday.
whizzed round it before I did the workshop at the weekend, but I didn't
Yeah.
have enough time to take anything
I
truly
sat in
in.
Gallery 3. I overheard the piece in the chamber
Next to Gallery 3.
in Gallery 2, the chamber that was Aquarius.
Oh, yeah.
The technicians keep nicknaming the Mecha box. So it was a Mecha box when that was the part of. So I'm going to call it the Mecha box on the podcast now. Very well. Has a piece in there that's quite emotive. I can't remember why. I just remember putting carpet tiles on the walls and
'Cause the film
thinking
is-
this is really sad that
I
I'm
don't remember
listening
what the film's
to. I
about
need
too
to
well.
watch it again.
But the film, is it about... It's video footage of a certain place with someone speaking over it that completely contradicts the footage.
See, I didn't
In
see
a
the
neg-
first
in a
one.
negative way.
Outside. That's so when you first walk into the gallery, there's that sofa with the
20th
thing.
century.
No, not that one.
You were talking about the Uganda.
Yeah, yeah,
isn't it?
yeah.
Ah,
It's
okay.
filmed.
It's yes. I might
Maybe
be
they
completely
both
wrong.
had
Is that-
deals similar.
Yeah, maybe.
But that one is to do with people that are hard of hearing or have auditory problems, and she's sort of like commentating over the film
Yeah.
But in
with her own
subtitles.
thoughts,
So I
a
found-
bit in subtitles. So you essentially do watch the whole film, but you get her thoughts on the characters, and it's quite funny actually. To be fair,
Yeah, I quite enjoyed it.
That's the one on the outside of the box, isn't it?
Yeah.
On the outside.
Because what you're talking about, because I remember going in there very briefly and someone saying something, and then there's text over it that's like not or not true or something like that, or
Yeah.
something that, as you said, contradicts what's being spoken.
well, I'm excited to see the
There's a
rest of
piece
the
that
show.
is just credits.
Oh, is that the
But
one
that's-
behind it?
That's,
I always think it's finished.
No, it's
Got me.
the work is just credits.
Oh,
It looks like it's just credits as part of
But the work is
choice.
it's I'm trying to think of how to describe it. It's her influences through history, but it's designed to look like film credits, but it goes through time.
Is it her
So it's the-
bibliography?
It starts at essentially
Yeah.
it starts at
quite
the
nice.
earliest time, and then it gets
It's really nice.
more modern as it goes down.
Oh, that's.
But yeah, again, we've only had it for a day, but
I don't like being in there, I'll be honest.
Gallery
which one? Gallery 3?
Gallery
wow.
next to Gallery 3, at the end of Gallery 2.
Oh
I
yeah,
don't like it.
Laura-
Laura
Very
Voss
uncomfortable.
work.
Laura Brugger.
I
Very
remember why.
uncomfortable in there. So it's all it is, like 15 minutes on the hour and on the half hour of like dogs howling, and I know it's supposed to be
Yes,
like
that's
sled
Gallery
dogs
3.
together, that they're kind of calling to each other and stuff, but without the context of seeing the dogs together, to me it just sounds like dogs in distress.
Sorry, yeah, no, I thought you were
It-
talking about
no,
another piece. Yeah.
Gallery 3 and then
Yeah,
Gallery
that's
It
2.
is dogs in sort of in distress.
Yeah,
No, it's
that
not.
it is. I don't think it's
Not-
meant to be. It doesn't say
They're-
specifically in
they're
distress,
Greenland
but they
sled
are.
dogs.
Yeah,
But they are.
That are just howling.
it's
So
just that
they're
pitch. The pitch of it makes me feel very distressed hearing it.
Not to disregard that,
Mm.
but I just think it sounds like Hermione Granger when she's shouting out to Lupin, and she's like, "Ah, woo!" across it just sounds like loads of humans like pretending to be wolves to me. So
Yeah.
hopefully, maybe that will.
Aren't they distressed? I remember reading the wall text. 'Cause it's in Greenland. Didn't they say about the?
They're calling to each other.
Isn't it
like the
environmental
dogs
as well?
do.
Because Greenland is. I don't know if that's being affected
Dark.
by.
Probably.
Just ice caps melting.
Yeah,
and stuff.
yeah, and
no, yeah.
That, I think they
I don't
reference.
think the dogs are distressed about that though.
No, I mean, well, they're very political.
They reference that in relation to the fact that Greenland is melting,
It is.
and the sort of symphony of wolf cries, if you want to call them that, or wolf communication that they're making, is designed to sort of put us in the room with them and listen to the sort of creatures that we're on the planet with, and along with them,
Oh, because
their
they
habitat is sort of declining.
and they have a voice as well. It was like, oh yeah, animals have voices,
Yeah.
and they might not be able to make, discernible like.
I find it quite relaxing in there, to be honest.
Yeah, I'm the same.
do
I
like
quite
the
liked
space.
it.
I had to leave very, very quickly.
Really?
It was so
Ah.
uncomfortable.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Louise,
Says a
Louise,
lot about us.
one of our other gallery assistants, she had the same reaction. She thought they were in pain.
Yeah.
Yeah,
But
I've got
it's-
two
it's-
dogs
They
that
sound
are
lonely.
like those,
Yeah.
and that is the noise they make when they are hurt, or if there's something wrong and they need to be helped, and I can't stand
So
being in there.
It's an interesting
I
room.
don't like it.
What I was told by Joseph, who was working with Titus, who was a technician working on it, was that the story is that these dogs are, when they're not being used as sled dogs in the off season, as it were, they are just tied up and left outside.
Oh, don't tell
For
me that.
like-
That's
yeah.
going to make that even harder to go in there now.
Yeah, for 6 months. That's why I couldn't, because I was
Oh,
told
don't.
that. Sorry, Hazel.
That's why, that makes it all so much worse.
Sorry, I'm so
But
sorry.
that doesn't
That
it doesn't
was
say
what-
that in the text specifically,
No,
though,
this
does it?
is
That's
what-
kind of misleading, I feel.
I haven't read the text. Should be. This
I-
is what I was told
Mm.
from someone else.
That's
Right,
so
okay.
that's not necessarily.
That might not be the
case.
truth.
Okay.
It might be this other person's interpretation.
Right.
I imagine this will happen a lot. That people will go in and go, "Oh, this is really, really lovely," and some people will go in and go,
Well,
"This is really
the
distressing."
whole
I
and-
point
couldn't
of this
stay in
show
there
is
for more than 3
voice
minutes.
and communication and understanding language and
Yeah.
understanding each other, I guess, through means of voice.
Mm.
And immediately we're split on how we're interpreting sounds of another creature.
Yeah.
It's funny because it's not language; it's sound, and it's like one way.
But then
or the
that's
other
the
way.
thing, language is
do I
sound.
Why do I like the wolf one, but not like the other one, where they're both quite... I mean, there are other elements to it, but they're both quite dark.
What's the other one, sorry?
Downstairs.
Oh,
Urchin
yeah,
one.
okay, yeah, I'm with you.
But there are correlations between the two in terms of how the spaces are used and backed out and things like that.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
how I find the...
But for you, there's a presence in Gallery 1 of the big bags.
Yeah,
that you don't
I
get
really
in-
enjoy the sensation of being in the middle of nowhere and completely
in
isolated.
Gallery 3.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I
agree.
love that.
Because
I
it's
find
you hear the wolves
Gallery
howling.
One very comforting.
They're not howling constantly. You do start to hear it does get quiet.
Yes, it does change, and I was told it changes and it's less disturbing. Well, from my perspective, less disturbing, but I couldn't stay in it. I had to leave.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Right.
But this is interesting. This is what I like.
Yeah.
'Cause like you said, language is, we're listening to sounds, but language is sounds.
Well, see, what I think I was trying to go for is that 'cause you've got language, which is what we're using now, and then you've got something, what do you call it, like sort of pre-verbal, which is sort of like or and something like, and you hear, yeah, there's me, get me to do the work, and it's stuff that isn't, it's, yeah, there's something more to it, it's more like tonal, it's more colourful, and that's why you think that's really distressing. Like you could say, I'm upset, but then you've got the, how you say I'm upset, but as a dog can't do that, and it's so, I don't know, visceral,
I was
very raw.
reading, I didn't read it properly, but something today about how people think in different ways. It had never occurred to me. So some people think in full sentences. I am one of those people.
This
And
really
other
freaked me out when I
people-
learned
And
this.
other people think the term is abstract, so you don't have this constant running monologue in your head. You just have like feelings of notions of things, and then you have to interpret them and put them out there. And I went, what do you mean? People aren't wandering around going, I can't believe that person did that. Now I'm going to go make a cup of tea. Now I've got to go and do this, do that. People don't think like that.
I'm with you on that.
Some people
Some
are like, I
people
feel
don't
like
have
the
the
sea,
monologue.
whoosh.
But it's you know, it's just bonkers how
It is strange.
different people.
See, I have the running monologue, but I have a weird sort of disconnect in my brain having to get stuff out into speech sometimes, where I have to think the words in my head and see the shapes of the words before I can produce them out my mouth.
I've heard
And
of
if
that
I
one
can't-
too.
And if I can't see the word, I can't get it out of my mouth, and then I get like it's almost like a backlog. Like I get really, really stressed, and I start sort of making like noises instead, like making shapes and hand gestures and stuff. And it's like, it's kind of distressing not being able to shout, you
I've
know.
heard about that one too.
Yeah.
Where's
Okay.
Sarah Hayden's show about us?
I have a bit of a stutter.
So who has
sometimes
no
when I get in a
I
monologue,
can't get a
you-
sentence
Oh,
out because
yeah,
my
I
brain
stutter
works
sometimes.
a lot faster than there's a disconnect where one thing's working faster than the other, and I go
Do you get
sentence.
do you get when you have like you have half a sentence in your head and then you start telling somebody midway through that sentence?
yeah, I do that. And they're like, what are you talking about?
No,
Oh,
what?
sorry. I'm like, sorry, I was thinking the first half of that paragraph. I'm so sorry.
I get really worried I've said what I've thought as well. I can't remember
Yeah.
if I've said it or not.
Mm-hmm.
I've had that in the past, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like, did I tell that person
I say
thing?
that one?
Oh,
Or like,
God.
I hope I dreamed I said that, 'cause that's really bad. Anyway, going back to the old artwork.
Yeah, well,
Well, this is what artwork does. It stimulates conversation.
Yeah.
So
around
thought-provoking.
the
Oh, come see it.
subjects. Yeah,
but,
and chat with us as well.
Yeah, Many Voices is on till the 11th of April, and Larry's work is on till the 21st of March, and Lindsay Sears, when it opens on the 8th of February, will be on till the 11th of April as well. So that's what's on currently, and I'm glad we got to talk about it. But there's something else that I want to talk to you all about. As some of you might know, I'm doing my Gold Arts Award at the moment.
Oh, he's talking about it again.
Oh yeah, did I mention I'm doing the Gold Arts Award?
That's what?
Sorry, the Gold Arts Award.
Yeah, what's that?
So it's an arts award, but it's gold.
sorry.
And I basically need to present to you an arts issue or topic that I want to discuss. And the work that I'm producing for my arts award is a combination of painting and photography, where I'm censoring my own personal images with painting, if you like. So I just want to discuss. I wanted to discuss with you whether or not painting still works on its own within contemporary art. And by that I mean, do you need to add to painting for it to be interesting in contemporary art? Or could it just be painting on its own? We've had Gerhard Richter in the building. He has paintings on its own. But will it get to a point, or has it got to a point where people feel the need to add a little bit more to it so that it's a little bit more interesting? I'm not sure. Another question I've had is whether or not painting is a dead art form within contemporary art. I'm not saying that either of these are true, but I'd like to discuss with you how you feel about it. I know, Piers, you've done painting in the past.
I have done. I enjoy it as a medium very much. more so as an emotional thing, but also as a material thing. But like I remember, there's a great, I think it's Take Shots, and it's on YouTube, and it's Fiona Ray talking about painting, and she says, so many people ask, oh, is painting dead? She says, oh, well, no, she thinks it's really alive because it's so versatile, and I think she says it's been around since ever. And I think like anything, like let's say, I think she makes the point about installation was suddenly once new, and she's like, well, but then it, okay, if anybody's seen is it Katamari Damacy?
Yeah.
The game where you roll around in a ball.
Yeah.
Art's like that. So you'll get like, oh, installation something, oh, and then that gets put, and it just keeps going and going, and I think it just keeps feeding itself. So painting is not dead, and I think it really depends. Some people will, perhaps it seems very contemporary, let's say it uses certain things from the digital, but then there are painters that aren't concerned with that and will be very traditional, but will say something rather contemporary, and I think it's as valid, really. And people stretch the meaning of painting. Sometimes painting is as simple as I think even just a word or something like that, or painting gets stretched into some other means. Painting can be photography. It's all that weird stuff, but I definitely don't think it's dead. That's like saying, I think to say is painting dead, you'd have to ask, is every other form of art dead as well? And I'd have to say, no. It's undead, and I'll leave it on that.
Oh,
it's all undead.
Wow.
Can I just... I struggle with the questions because I really want to have like a staunch concept of what contemporary art is before I can tear something else apart.
So, having worked at a contemporary art gallery since we opened in 2018, I can't really recall. Obviously, we can't show all contemporary art at all times, whenever we want. But there's obviously a decision to choose specific artists that are showing certain work and certain ways of working. I don't. For me, I'm like I said, I'm mainly photography based, and I don't have a huge understanding of contemporary art. So when I say contemporary art, I'm just basing it off of what I've seen and what I've understood from the shows that I've seen. But with the amount of painting that we've had through the door, and like we mentioned earlier, people coming in, "You've got any paintings?" It seems to be very desirable.
I mean, but does painting... what am I trying to say? So across the way there was a pre-Raphaelite exhibition.
Yeah.
When they were doing that in their day, they were being way out there, and that was contemporary.
Mm-hmm.
It's not contemporary now. So, but that's a painting. So I'm in like a cloud of philosophy, and I don't know how to articulate what I want to say. I think it's like an impossible thing to try, and I think it's, what is art? I'm getting all the way back into there, and I'm trying to like clamber my way back out of this little like philosophy ditch I've made myself.
I wonder, like when people come in, have you got any painting? I think what they're saying is have you got any painting that I'm used to or that I'm familiar with, which is modern painting, for example. But there's people now paint, and you would just call it contemporary painting. And I'd love to see more of that in the gallery. That's less so, painting is a thing of the modern age, or it looks like Monet, or it looks like Van Gogh. It's like, no, that's not the case. There's some really great contemporary painters out there at the moment, but I'd just like to see more of that.
So I wonder what kind of painting it is that people kind of expect to see. So having worked in the other gallery down the road, and we've got like the in quotation marks traditional kind of paintings. So the visitors that kind of see here and the visitors we see there that ask for the paintings are the ones that are like, they expect it almost like they kind of expect it like the pre-photography age, so they expect the painting to have been a documentation of X, Y and Z to be of its true form, and then obviously photography came along, so people assume, well, we don't need to paint anymore because we can just take a snap of it. And that, I wonder whether that people kind of are still expecting it as to be a documentation of something's form as it is, or as they perceive it to be, maybe, rather than like a form of expression.
That's interesting.
Rather than,
So maybe another question I could ask would be, has painting evolved to be more abstract within contemporary art? Because someone I looked up, his name was Danny Rolfe. Similar to what the earlier question about does it still work on its own, he paints on perspex and then combines that together. But within contemporary art, like what I just said, do you feel like it needs to become more abstract to fit in?
Not at all.
No.
I think it changes. You will get some artists whose what they're trying to communicate, the language they will have to use is abstraction, and there'll be people that will use figuration or any other ways of communicating. And I think it's purely down to who the artist is, and that's why it's so diverse in my opinion. I think it depends who it is, depends who it is.
I feel like it's just another way of people telling their stories. Like, but obviously everybody's kind of takes to a different medium differently. So you might want to express something, and the way you know to do that is photography.
Mm-hmm.
You know, everything's kind of staged or whatever it is for the story you want to show, but it's the way that you know how to share it best. Whereas, you know, somebody else might take it to painting and do, like Surrealist, for example, Frida Kahlo is my favourite. She didn't paint anything sort of realistic, but, you know, that's how she got her story and her emotion and her, you know, how she communicated. You know, other people do it through sculpture, like making stuff with their hands and sculpting it. Like, that's how they communicate. So I guess it's just an older, maybe, version of the way people communicate, or some people take to communicating better than others, I guess.
I'd also say the ways of communication has changed. We talk about abstraction. It's like perhaps to depict a feeling, you'd have to use figuration, and it would have to be incredibly naturalistic. And then you move along, and you can think, well, maybe to depict this, it could be, I don't know, a series of colours and brushstrokes, and then perhaps it becomes shapes, and it becomes other things. And I think it just keeps coming back. It really depends on what language that one person uses.
I mean, this question's quite interesting. Just does painting in contemporary art still work on its own? Because it automatically splits the painting from anything else. Whereas an artist would quite easily argue, if they'd created a piece of work that included painting, that's an element of the work. It's not a painting in something else, or an installation that has a painting bit in it. It's all one work of art. So you're forcing a dichotomy in the artwork with the question anyway.
Yeah, because you'll get artists who will say, I'm making artwork, and it may have painting, sculpture, installation, and then there'll be people who are artists who says, but I am a painter, and I just do painting. But yeah, you would see, I guess it depends on how you classify yourself, but it wouldn't, even if you said I'm doing artwork, that still has painting or this or that on it. I think that's what.
Yeah, it's things like a Gallery 1 downstairs with I can't remember the name of the piece in Gallery 1, but that's multiple pieces in one space. So you could go, oh, this is a film. A film isn't enough, so I've done this and this in this space, but they're three separate artworks. They're not one artwork. I don't know where I'm going with this.
They come together to create an installation. They are individual pieces on their own, and they work on their own, but they bring it all together and tie it up.
So what would you call that artist who does all those different elements? Are they a mixed media artist? Are they an installation artist? Are they or, you know, do we need the boxes? Do we need the boxes?
They are an artist.
An artist.
Yeah, I'd say
that's.
and it can be as blurry and as wonderful as it needs to be.
I think some people like the rigidity of I'm a painter. I paint images. I like to be pictorial and use oil paints and go with that tradition, which is lovely, and I think needs to never stop. And I don't think it ever will. I think a lot of people say, "Oh, painting's dead," or no one's painting anymore in contemporary art, but they are, and it's always going to be there because of that tradition and that heritage, and there's something really tactile and lovely about a painting. I don't even paint, but I love buying paintings from friends because I just think that they're lovely and they're going to last longer than some mixed media.
So I think that's kind of where I'm trying to head towards, because I know what you mean about it splits it from the rest. Is that if I say it's painting does it still work on its own, is that it does split it. And then you mentioned, trying to think of what I'm trying to relate to what you just said. You said people say that painting is dead, but they're just doing it in different ways. Is that what you just said? They are still doing it. It's just
people are always going to paint, and they're always going to paint traditionally, and they're going to paint in really rad new ways that they possibly can, using all sorts of different media. And some people are going to stick to oils.
Yeah, and I think that's what I'm going for. Is that do you think now more so people feel the need to combine painting with other things?
Well, this kind of
My gut is no.
But it's also
My
about the
gut-
content. Like you could paint with oils, and your subject matter is incredibly contemporary. Or you could paint in the most diverse ways, and your subject matter may not appear very loose as contemporary as it could be. Or it's like, well, these are issues that perhaps aren't as I don't know, dominant now or something like that. So
Do we count Banksy as a painter because he uses spray paint? Is that just throwing that out there? What would you
Very
classify
good
him as?
question, because
He's a vandaliser.
because when we think
Criminal.
He's a criminal, too right.
if you said to me what is painting, my immediate thought is an oil painting applied with a brush.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Maybe a squeegee. Let's give Richter a chance
Oh.
here. No, but I would, if you said painting to me, I would say oils and a brush. Maybe watercolours. I wouldn't have thought Banksy, and maybe there's something a little bit elitist in my thought process there.
I think
that I should have challenged. Yeah, I'm happy to admit that.
the two questions, and it connects into things that we've already talked about in the past, however long we've been talking, but it connects into everything, so that we've kind of spoken about. So people coming in and going, where are the paintings? They're not asking for anything that's painted. They're asking for pictures of landscapes. Mm-hmm. That's what they're actually asking for. They're asking for something that they recognise and have been told and brought up to be like, that's art, that's a painting, that's a lovely landscape of some trees and some sheeps.
People will still get just as upset if they see an abstract painting or dots, you know, a painting of dots or something like that, because the City Gallery across the road has a fantastic collection from medieval right up to contemporary, and they have actually the biggest collection of modern from 1850 to 1950, and there's such variation in that collection, and there's things that are figurative and realistic, and you've also got paintings that are very abstract and all about form and colour and line and geometrics. And they still get upset about that because that's radical, because that's not landscapes.
It's not painting. It's very Grayson Perry. It kind of like you know how he talks about what people expect art to be and what is art.
What can confirm my comfortable world?
Yes, and then going on from that idea of people looking for and expecting a certain type of art, and then being like, I've done some culture today. And that's not saying that people can't enjoy landscapes. There is definitely like a beautiful amount of skill and detail, and also vision for people from the different times that they come from. But that's not the point that I'm trying to make. It goes on to us talking about how you enjoyed Dream Machine because it was just really cool and in your face, and bam, there it is. Wow, it's a thing that I'm experiencing. And because of that, connecting it all in, if painting is this stereotypically kind of like yawn fest, then do you need to stick a painting inside a Dream Machine to make it interesting now in contemporary art? That's kind of the question you're asking.
Yeah.
I want to adamantly say no.
And I'm just gonna sit back and let that sizzle.
Can you paint with light?
Yeah. That's photography.
In music, there's word painting, which is when you're composing and you have a song that is about climbing. The music goes up and equally goes down if you're gonna fall. And that's word painting.
I listened to something. There was a piano song written for a particular character, and they're known as being very white, and they only used the white keys and didn't use the black keys. And I was like, that's incredible. That's like that type of consideration.
That's really funny. There's like no
something.
jazz in there at all.
Yeah.
So pedestrian.
Yeah. But
Sorry, I'm very funny.
But I imagine, I mean, you talk about landscapes, just an example, like, there'll be contemporary landscape painters out there now doing, let's have a look at history, and what can I do now that I think is relevant to today, but also to my relationship with landscape. And I imagine that happens with everything throughout art. Oh, what did we do with installation? Oh, well, what happened previously, and can I? Because I think being contemporary is very difficult as well, because what does that mean? What does it mean to not be contemporary? Because we look at things sometimes and go, oh well, I don't like that work or that artwork because it doesn't seem very relevant or something, but then obviously things have their own places in history. So I think not only is painting a difficult subject, contemporary is also difficult. It's all too difficult. Bring the Katamari back in.
It's all difficult.
It's getting into the kind of area of like what if something's applicable to an era or a time. I'm for some reason my brain has gone to things that are quite kitsch or like ceramics that have kittens on, stuff like that. But then well, yes, but they're essentially not contemporary because they are from that time. But if you were to paint one or install some in some kind of creative, interesting kind of way in a space of something, then you'd walk in and be like, look at this contemporary art full of kitsch ceramic ware. And
John Hansard Gallery had that exact show a few years ago.
What?
There was a kitsch show at the
Are you
Hansard.
kidding me?
What?
Did I make it?
My past self.
I don't know what year it is, but we had some remnants of it in the shop. And Hannah's got a little.
I'm shook.
Go in the office. This is sorry. Go in the office and have a look at Hannah's little doggy statue.
Oh man, how did I do this?
This was years ago. This was years ago.
I wasn't around then. I was a mere embryo.
Yes, probably.
But Kat makes a great point, because stuff like that is considered not contemporary. Oh, it's so kitschy, this. And then it gets recontextualised.
Yeah.
Yes.
And then suddenly, so I think contemporary itself is like some sort of black hole where you can chuck anything in it, and suddenly
It just
it's
depends
like.
who says it's contemporary art, doesn't it?
There is
Really.
also that.
I mean, there's
I would
always somebody
really-
that's going to say, banana stuck to the wall is absolutely, 100% contemporary art. Well, is it? Is it just because you've said it? Like, does it matter who it is that's saying it, or
How many people need to say it? Who's saying it?
Exactly. Where does it come from? If it's in a magazine, does that make it so? If it's on the internet, does that make it so? Is it?
Oh, no.
I think the question has a very large question mark at the end of it.
Oh, it does,
And
for sure.
I think it will always have that.
I think it's well.
So
I've
I
come
hope
at.
the
I've come
Arsenal
at.
didn't
No,
want you to completely answer it.
I don't think they do.
Yes or no
And I
answers
don't
only,
intend
please.
to. Oh, what? I'm just going to put yes. Yeah, and that's why I explained at the beginning that I have basically no history with contemporary art. I'm very much a noob, if you like, when it comes to it. Yeah, I don't have a wealth of knowledge, and I find it interesting, and that's why I wanted to bring it to the table, because I know that, well, all of you probably have a much stronger interpretation of it.
It's one of those things you could argue about for days, weeks, months.
Well, yeah, and it's because I don't know, maybe I wanted to paint. I've never really painted myself, and I wanted to paint and just, I don't know, paint my photographs.
That's so interesting, because that's what I've picked up on there, is that I wonder if people feel like they shouldn't paint. And maybe I shouldn't paint. I really have a desire to paint. But is it seen as a bit... and then... But like you now, obviously this is your first time sort of engaging with that, but of course you can.
Well,
It's like... I wonder, is it that expectation to, maybe I should do the right thing, or it's like no learning involved. There's no relationship built. It's like, I'll just be at the end of this.
This is something that, to be a painter, at least when at the art school I went to, was so hard to stay a painter. It was not encouraged to be a traditional painter.
Is it because it naturally sort of lends itself to being incorporated with other art forms?
Well, if you came into art school and you were like, I would like to paint, I want to paint, I want my concept to be revealed in a painting.
Yeah.
My particular art school was very much like, but but try making it an installation painting, or try making it into a sculpture, or
conceptual enough
try.
in
It's not
itself.
conceptual enough if it's a painting, which personally I think is wrong. And I think that if you want to paint, you need. This is an art
But
school.
what? So
right?
what? So are they trying to make? Are they trying to make it more conceptual because? Okay, this might be the stretch. I don't know, but conceptual means contemporary.
I think this is something I'm picking up.
Eyebrows raised higher and higher.
I think with what Amy's saying is that people can come into art school either doing a foundation or not doing a foundation, and be very stuck with one medium.
It's because they want you to have one medium. It's not because they.
Well, see, this is what
we
I think.
didn't have that. It was very much.
Because
You are this or this.
I think,
No,
I
no,
think it's
it was
something.
do everything.
Oh,
We
what I
had
was,
do
You must be
everything.
in this box,
You
or
cannot
this
be
box.
in a box.
That's so disappointing because you think like now people come in with, let's say, a box. So I'm this, and I think I don't think tutors or people disagree with. Well, of course you can be a painter. However, how can you painter, artist, sculptor, installation artist? How can you be that until you've gone through everything? And I think it's what the tutors or what people go against in the art school is dogma. And when people are dogmatic, that's when things, because you can be a painter and try many different things with painting, and then people are going to go, oh, you're definitely a painter, but you're trying things. It's when the painting becomes dogmatic, that's when it's like, I think it might need to be challenged.
What does
Dogmatic is like you stick with something again and again. You never really change it. It's like, well, I think painting is this, and I'm going to keep it with. It's going to be blue skies and it's going to be boats.
Okay.
It's like, well, have you thought about painting in other ways? Have you chopped the canvas up? Have you turned it upside down? Have you done other things? It's like, I only use oil paint. Have you tried bitumen or something like that? Or have you set it on fire? Have you pissed on it or something? Because that's what happens.
Can you list some more, please?
Yeah. Have you? Well. Yeah. More. Have you, like, I don't know, turn the canvas inside out?
If that was me when I was at art school, you'd list it all off like, piss, shit, blood, whatever. Like it's all done. It's all been done. Doesn't need to be done again. It's all been done.
But you've not done it. You've not found your own relationship yet.
That was my view.
Which is so,
it's not.
Which
That's
is so
what storm
bad.
where you went. Jumping back to Amy's, it feels a bit elitist.
It was very much don't paint. You could do anything else. You could say, I want to do sculpture and stick in sculpture, but
Why
you
judge
I
painting?
didn't like painting.
It's too much
Could
not
have been
giving
like-
anybody time. And it's like, oh, okay, we expect you to know this now, and you should know the artist you're going to be. You've got many years ahead of you, and you also, if you don't learn, you don't do anything. If anything, if you're not learning, you're more stuck.
This is another thing that they used to say. It felt like you must consistently have one medium or be in one box for your art to be consistent and them see it as yours. If you were doing one thing and then suddenly tried to, if you're doing painting, all of a sudden like, I'm going to try painting a fabric sculpture instead, so it's more 3D and
It's obvious we had different experiences.
yeah, it's really weird. But then they'd be like, well, that doesn't seem like your work, and it's like, well, but it is my work because I've made it.
Oh, yeah, absolute opposite experience. You were not allowed to stick with the same thing.
Weird. That's so weird. I struggled with that so hard. I struggled that so hard when I was at uni.
You could have both just done like a year where you just did a swap.
Yeah.
just to
Art
see.
exchange.
Yeah.
Different tutors.
What was the question?
We've diverged.
I don't know. I don't know what I said last.
I would like to. I'd like to say, like, if we bring it back to painting at the John Hansard, I would really love for us to have a contemporary painting show, all painting, and kind of a little part of me
Is
says,
it Derek Jarwood?
"Are we going to have one?"
Is that a person?
Derek Jarman. I don't know very much about
Is that
Derek
a
Jarman,
person?
but is he a painter?
I don't know.
Well, what I would really, really like is a contemporary painting show that is all painting, but isn't what the people that come in and
Would
say, "Where's the paintings?" will expect.
Yeah. I would
Because that always really jars people, and they're like,
it'd be even more jarring as if you had like the not contemporary, even like the traditional paintings that people expect to have, like the seascapes and the landscapes and the the portraits and stuff. So you had them all the way around Gallery 1, but there was a load of paint on the floor in the middle, and you go, make it contemporary, join in, and everybody just able to pick up a brush and see who the first person is to say, there's a paintbrush and some paint there, and there's a painting on the wall there. What can I do with this? And just see how people react to being able to do something with it. Like,
Now that's a community takeover.
yeah.
They did that with like a bunch of schoolboys, didn't they? Who was it any of you that I was talking to, or was it someone else in the gallery? I think it might have been Jess. They put loads of school kids in a room full of statues and just said that you can do anything.
Yeah.
And they
I wrote my dissertation on that.
wandered around,
yeah.
slowly got closer, and once one of them elbowed something and it smashed on the floor. It was like Lord of the Flies in there.
Yeah.
So like, I was like,
Eve. No. Oh, she's a famous sculptor.
Longoria?
She's a sculptor who did it. Eva
Hess?
Hest,
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think.
Hesse? Hesse? Hess? Oh.
We're
gonna get fired.
I wrote an essay.
I wrote an essay on it.
I did. I wrote an essay on this because I was interested in
essay.
how children.
Oh, I think you
I was interested in how children react in a gallery, and that's something I still find interesting working here. When parents shush the children,
don't
especially
shush people.
during the Mirza show.
Do
It
they?
was really funny. Yeah,
Yeah,
they
I
were
see it all the
shushing.
time.
I
All
don't
the
get.
time.
I have never seen any of them go. Shh.
Don't do that. Shh.
Normally
I'm like,
they're just
oh,
running
let them
around the
shout.
shop and running and like
Oh, really?
grabbing stuff and pushing stuff
I'm
over
with Hazel
and
on this one.
sticking their arms in the
with
wall
Hazel on
pockets.
this
I-
one.
I don't mind. I don't care who it is. I'm so naughty. I don't care who it is. Any age, any type of person, I don't mind. If they're whispering, I will walk up to them and talk at full volume, and they look so shocked. I'm like, "Are you enjoying the artwork today?" And they're like, "Oh my god, can we actually talk at this level?" Yes.
Yeah, you can.
Yeah.
Shocking.
It is
Yeah, I
surprising how
like
many
to
people want
encourage
talk at,
people
like, a
to.
hush.
I hate whisperers. I can't stand it.
What's the work all about?
Yeah.
Sorry? What?
Pardon.
Not had that experience here at all. It's really
Oh,
weird.
really?
Really
Oh,
weird.
Oh,
yeah,
you're
it's
lucky.
Strange. It's very
You wait a
strange.
few months.
Yeah.
Well,
When people are sensible, it's annoying almost.
thanks for the discussion, everyone.
Thank
That
you.
was
Thanks.
bizarre. I don't have an answer, but I don't necessarily
Yes.
want one
No,
because it doesn't need one.
maybe.
Hey.
It doesn't
If,
need an answer.
if you want a definitive answer, does painting contemporary art still work on its own? Yes.
Yes.
Is
42.
painting a dead art form from within contemporary art? No.
Socks.
That's my answer. But that's my opinion.
Notarized.
That just got a stamp of approval. Bang.
You put an effect over that as well.
Yeah. But yeah, thank you everyone. As we said earlier on, let me just get the dates up again. We have Larry Champong, who's on from the 25th of January, so it's already started, up until it's just changed, to the 21st of March. We have Many Voices, all of them loved, and that's also here, and that's here till the 11th of April, and so is Lindsay Sears when that starts on the 8th of February, which is a Saturday.
Fun.
Yeah, thanks everyone.
This was fun.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
That's all right.
Is there
See
a
you-
sign out thing?
No, I'll just see you all on the next one.
See you at Seaside.
Adios.
Yeah. See you at Seaside, everyone. Thank you.